two rabbis were here this morning. There's a little bit of a mistake. So meanwhile, you learn something on Chassidus tomorrow. So tomorrow on the Chassidus day, you'll learn something on Kashrus. Okay? So you'll get it all. Okay, the lesson now is about, we all know about kosher. I have to be careful about the ingredients, right? Okay, so I go and figure out this restaurant is giving only kosher meat, kosher fish, kosher meat, kosher, everything kosher, right? It's all okay. But is that okay? Why is it not okay? There's the vessels, there's who's cooking it, how are they cooking it, etc., etc. Very, very big difference. So when I go to the store now and I pick up a bottle of wine, if it's seen by a non-Jew, if it's touched by if it's seen by a non-Jew or touched by a not from Shomer Shabbos Jew, it could be a question about the wine. Okay? If I have milk now that was not watched, but it's from a cow, but there was no Jew watching it, it's a problem. If I have a product that's being cooked in a restaurant that's not kosher, and there's no Jewish person who opened up the fire, it's a problem. Okay? And the same thing is now baked goods. Everything in it is kosher, but a Jew did not open up the fire or throw something into the fire, it's problematic. Did everybody get that? So there are 4 categories. One is called pas, which is baked goods. One is called bishul, which is called cooked goods. One is called chalav, which is milk products. And the next one is called yayin, which is called wine. Did you ever hear of this? Yes. Okay. Or no, whatever it is. Okay, so now the problem is the following. Shall I repeat it again? Cooked, baked, wine, and milk products.
What's baked?
Baked. Bakery. Cake. Bread. Okay, and we'll discuss the difference between cake and bread. But there's cake and there's bread, which is baked. There's everything that's cooked. And in cooked, we're going to different categories. What happens if it's what do you call it? If it's steamed, there's a lot of different questions. Steamed, smoked, salted, etc. So that's all goes into the cooking area. And then there's milk products, and then there is wine. Okay? Why are these things problematic? Why did the Torah make them problematic? Can anybody think why? Or know why?
Well, one thing was assimilation.
Not one thing, that's the reason.
Oh,
The answer is so that we do not intermarry. When you drink with somebody, you become very friendly. You break all your barriers. When I'm able to go into restaurants that are not kosher and eat because they cooked something, or worse than that, in somebody's house. My next door neighbor is not Jewish, invited me over. They made sure they have kosher products, but they cooked for me. There's a certain affinity, a certain friendliness that is there. When I cannot eat everywhere, and we cannot eat together, we cannot drink together, there is a problem. Or I bring my own food. I remember staying for a few days by a woman who was definitely not Jewish, whatever, and I came to stay by her, so she wanted to buy me things that that she could. So she went to the supermarket, starting to look for kosher things, but she didn't know what she was talking about, what she was doing. But the bottom line is, I said, thank you very much. I brought my own food. Or I brought my own pot, and I will cook it myself. You understand? Because the pot becomes problematic also. Because she cannot cook for me. Understood? And I know this is complicating things for you, but it's also defining very, very clearly that there's a difference, and we have to keep that difference. We do not want to come to intermarriage.
So in this neighborhood, we can eat in the restaurants, but then the non-Jews are eating there also. So
That's
we could
not
get friendly.
an issue.
We could get
I'm
friendly
not
with
eating
them.
their food.
Right,
You
but they're-
understand? Look, a lot of Jewish mothers that, thank God, their daughters became Bali Tshuva, or the sons became Bali Tshuva, and they say, we can't eat together anymore. I don't like the fact that you became from. We can't have a party. I want you to eat in my house. If not, I don't feel like you're my child. We're not close now that you can't eat them from. cooking. Not only do I, you understand, not only I want to go to a restaurant with you, we can go to a grocery restaurant together. It's not the point. I want you to cook for I want you to eat for my food. If I can't cook for you, there is a little bit of a barrier, and they're right about that. They could do something about it. They could kosher it. They could do a lot of things, and they could start keeping Shabbos. If they start keeping Shabbos, it's no problem. But if they don't keep Shabbos, you have to open that fire.
So when you're saying
Even in your parents' house or in somebody else's house, or you have a roommate, you're living with a roommate who doesn't keep Shabbos, they cannot open the fire. So we also here, until somebody keeps Shabbos, we ask them not to open the fire, because we cannot eat from them. And it's not because they're not great people, they're great people. But the thing that makes it us separate is the fact that we keep Shabbos. It's not another mitzvah. The mitzvah that is Hashem chose is the mitzvah of Shabbos. Somebody doesn't keep Shabbos, they cannot open up the fire.
Yes, can I ask a question?
Sure.
I have learned that this halacha that a Jew that is not Shomer Shabbat can't open the fire, it only applies when this Jew Mechai Shabbat
The
B'mizir.
Faheser.
Just to make
Mezid and Fahesia. Fahesia means in public. If a person is known for not keeping Shabbos, I don't have to go into a person's private business here, and I don't have to look for things that are wrong. But if he's known for not being a Shomer Shabbos, he's walking around with a cell phone on Shabbos, he's smoking on Shabbos, right? So he's doing it openly in front of everybody. I'm announcing I'm not a Shomer Shabbos. He may not be announcing it, he doesn't know what he's doing because he didn't learn the halacha. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not blaming him. But the bottom line is, if you're walking around publicly, so I'm not talking about somebody that's doing something quietly or whatever. You understand? You're right, 100%. It's a person that's openly not keeping Shabbos.
Can I ask a question? You're talking about the non-Jew that can't cook for you, but that's the non-Jew as well can't turn on the fire, because in a restaurant, as long as there's a Jew there could be non-Jews in the restaurant.
I said that fire has to be opened by a Jew. That's why we have, that's why we have a mashgiach checking over the kashrus, meaning has to check all the ingredients. In addition to that, there has to be a Jew that's opening the fire. So that it's being cooked by a Jew. It's the one who opened the fire originally was a Jew. Do you understand? I mean, if somebody closed it, then also be opened by a Jew again. I'll explain the differences. In a bakery, for instance, what happens? You throw something in the fire, right? They open the fire's on all the time, or whatever it is. You throw in a few woods into the fire. It's questionable whether that's considered, not questionable. That could be okay. You understand what I'm trying to say? So a Jew's making the process go. So you understand how this really, really sets us apart. It's not only does it have to be kosher food, I have to know who cooked it. Do you understand? I have to make sure it was cooked by a Jew. I cannot just go into anywhere. Got it? And I can't eat by my next door neighbor. As a matter of fact, in baked goods, there is a heter, there is whatever. There's something called pas palter and pas akum. Pas palter means, pas means food, bread. Akum, palter means from a bakery. Then there's what's called pas akum, bread from a non-Jew. Listen carefully, okay? Pas akum, akum stands for a non-Jew. It used to mean those who served idols, okay? That's where it came from. But the bottom line is, in other words, my next door neighbor invites me over to their house, and they cooked the challah, which was all kosher, but they opened the fire and ate there. Or my non-Jewish helper in my house wanted to do me a favor, had my challahs all ready on a tray, ready to be going to the oven, and and was rising. She did me a favor. She opened up my oven in my house, my kosher oven, but she opened the fire and she put the challah in. If I don't catch it when it's a third cooked, I cannot eat.
So if it's less than a third, you could turn the fire off and turn it back on.
Exactly. I can take it out, I can turn it on. Exactly. But once it's a third cooked, it's questionable. Do you understand what I'm saying now? So there's a difference now between pas palter, bread that is baked in a bakery, and pas akum, and in a private home. And that only goes on bread. Since bread is a staple, And bread is very important. A lot of people say don't eat bread, but most people do eat bread, and bread is an important part of a diet. And therefore, if you cannot get bread from a kosher baker, or you yourself cannot bake, or whatever it may be, or it's difficult, or it's better bread, better quality bread, you feel you need that better quality bread, then most of the year you could just buy pas powder, which means you're 100% sure it's kosher. It's regular rye bread, water and rye, whatever it may be. Then you're allowed to buy pas powder, but you cannot ever eat pas akum. I cannot eat the bread from my own oven that a non-Jew opened the fire. You got it?
But the thing though also with the pas powder is it has to have a hechsher on it as
Of
well.
course, a hechsher is for the ingredients. So when I see a hechsher, just because I see something say, oh, you want it, or whatever kashrus it is, I still want to make sure that it is Bishul Yisrael. It's cooked by a Yid.
So pas Yisrael.
Or pas Yisrael, exactly. You see those samples on pas Yisrael. You got it? Because it's not enough just to be kosher. The ingredients are kosher, one thing, but how was it cooked? And by who, where, etc., etc. You got it? You got the general idea now? Okay, so now I'd like to go a little more into specifics. Okay? The most, I'm going to start with pas, I'll continue with pas. So now we are differentiating between bread and between every other baked goods. Cakes, cookies, crackers, etc. That all goes under pas. Pas, when it comes to bread, so if it's come from a nachtam or a baker, pas powder, then you could, in other words, technically you're allowed to eat that bread. You still should try to get pas Yisrael if you can, one that is from a Jewish bakery. But in your city there is no Jewish bakery. And the bakeries are very important. So that's why a lot of shluchim that go different places, they bake their own bread. Right? Today you buy a bread machine, it's pretty easy, you throw everything in and the bread comes out of it. Okay? So it's not that it's impossible. But many people bake their own challah, their own bread a whole year, etc., etc. I know my husband grew up in Brinois, and Brinois is the outskirts of Paris, which is a real shtetl where a lot of Lubavitch Hasidim ended up. And there wasn't any bread to be gotten. So they used to bake their own bread. But to bake bread, her for the whole family, 7 kids, 9 people eating 3 times a day bread, the way they used to live years ago, it was very difficult. So my mother-in-law baked bread for her husband, but she bought pas powder for the kids. Except for, by the way, Elul, in the month of Elul, we try to be more from, so at that time we don't eat it, or some people just necessarily say tshuva, but basically time of tshuva time, that's when we try to be more careful. But during the year, they ate this French bread, and that's what they ate. And that was 100% okay. But like I say, but those who wanted to be machmir, so my husband, once he was bar mitzvah, said, no, I'm going to learn how to bake bread myself. Learn how to bake challah because he wanted his own bread. So as they got older, they all started baking their own bread or whatever to help my mother-in-law. But the bottom line is, but up to that point, they were eating that bread. And it's 100% okay. You can continue on when you're older. You can be a man and do it as well. According to halacha, there's no question. Only, like I say, no. So that's that. That's only, or like I say, you want whole wheat bread, or you want certain kind of bread that you cannot get, right? Or it's a better bread, it's a better quality bread, you're allowed to do. Because bread is considered a staple, and a person lives on bread. Okay? A staple means it's one of the main things in your diet. Like I say, many people do not eat bread today at all. But
staple is like a foundation.
A foundation. It's a foundation. Okay, so that's as far as bread. But anything else, cake, any type of other baked goods, crackers, cookies, anything like that, you need to be needs to be pas Yisrael. Just like all the other cooked things, which means so. Now, how do you make something to be pas Yisrael? There's also a few levels. The best thing is that you have a Jewish bakery. Okay, Jewish bakery there's a Jewish person opens up the bakery, opens up the fire. I don't know if it's open once a month or once a week, depending on what kind of baker, what kind of oven it is. They have one of these big ovens, and they're opened up, and it should be done by a Jew. So in many cases, what do? When you see a hechsher on something, in other words, let's say there's something called national pretzels. National pretzels and Pashkas pretzels are the same pretzels. The difference is the Pashtus company, which is a film company, went into National Bakery, and and every once in a while they open the fire, and everything that's made on that day has a Pashtus Hechsher on it. So it's all Pas Yisrael. It's Pas Yisrael because they went in one day, they made I don't know how many thousands of bags of stuff. You understand? Everything bagged that day is Pashtus. So a lot of the things that you see out in the store, it's and same thing with crackers, etc., is because that's what they basically did. They went into a place that's kosher, but they opened up the fire and everything that day is fine, and that's it. You understand? The same thing could happen in certain bakeries. So what happens to, let's say, a shliach that comes to town, he will go into a bakery at one point, and let's say every Tuesday or whatever it may be, he doesn't have to open the fire. In a case of a fire, you could throw in some logs into the fire. That's the second level. We'll put logs into the fire, and therefore he caused that fire to go bigger, or whatever you want to call it. He took care of it. So everything that time until the next person throws something in is now under his hechsher. Under his hechsher, under his kosher symbol. It's under his kashrus. Okay? Now, so that's the second stage. What's the third stage? It's a log in the fire, opening the fire in the first place, whatever, or a paspalta. Those are the different stages, okay? So that's what could be done, and that's what people basically do. In my own oven, like I said, I'm very careful that I'm the one who opens the fire, okay? So in other words, even if somebody prepared for you the challah from A to Z, but it has to be a firm person that's Shomer Shabbos that opens up that fire and puts it in.
Must be a woman or no?
No, it could be a man, it could be a woman, it could be a child over bar mitzvah, no problem.
Oh, not under bar mitzvah.
I don't know. No, I don't know. Yeah, maybe yes. Maybe a child is okay. I don't, I'm sorry. I told this many years ago. Maybe yes. Maybe a child is allowed to also. Yeah, but it has to be somebody from, I always tell anybody that comes to work by me that's not Jewish, I say the fire has to be opened by somebody from the family. I don't want to say, for any other reason. I just say it needs to be, the way our law is, has to be somebody from the family. Yes, so it could be a child. Child can walk over and open up the fire. Okay? So they'll call one of the children, can you open up the fire now? Now, what happens if this woman wants to make herself, she's a non-Jewish woman, so far not Jewish or whatever, and meanwhile she wants to make herself an egg. She wants lunch. Is she allowed to cook herself an egg?
Get somebody from the family to open the fire.
This is in someone's home, sorry, or in the...
This woman is working for somebody. Let's say my mother's 8, okay? My elderly mother's 8, or a babysitter that you took, or somebody that's a cleaning lady, or whatever it may be. You have somebody that's not Jewish in the home. And is she allowed to open, what do we do? Yes.
Why an egg?
What?
Why you mentioned an egg?
An aide. Somebody who helps
Egg.
all
She said
elderly
egg.
people.
Egg,
Oh.
egg.
I think you an aide a little bit, right? An aide.
I understood egg, so
A helper.
I think
No,
that
no.
you have to
Oh,
check
yes, I
an
said
egg.
an egg. Yes, I said an egg. Because an egg can, okay, so now we're going to go into cooking.
Right, because
Cooking.
you have to check it.
Cooking. Wait, you have to check whether it has a blood spot. But besides that, in cooking now is more complicated. What can be eaten? What is it that is not a problem to be cooked by a non-Jew?
Things
Number
that
one,
aren't fit to
anything
serve a
that
king.
could be, what?
Things that aren't fit to serve a king.
Number one, okay, I'll start from that. Something that's not served to, cannot be served to a king. Okay, fit to serve a king. Like what? In other words, foods that are not important, it doesn't matter if anybody cooks it.
What's the...
I didn't understand, sorry.
There are some kind of foods that
Say
are
it in
not
Hebrew.
considered fit to serve a king.
So how do you say fit to serve a king in Hebrew?
We learned it, I forgot.
Royal Amachel Melech. What?
I forgot what we learned it as something else. Foods, the foods that are fit to serve a king.
Like what? What are they?
There was something that, it was a term. I forgot the name.
Royal Amachel Melech.
Something different.
There's also Royal Amachel Adam, but this is whatever. Okay, so the question now is, like, so give me food. What examples of such foods?
Crisps.
Crisps? Okay,
She
some
means
people,
potato chips.
yes, some people say potato chips, okay. Yeah, because potatoes you don't eat raw. So potatoes that are cooked
Well, that's another
have to
issue.
be cooked by a Jew. 1 second.
Yeah.
Any food now that cannot be eaten raw, that's cooked, needs to have needs to be cooked properly. Okay.
I didn't understand it.
Let's talk about food now. What food do I not have to worry about?
Only the
Well, like
Carrot.
apples.
Carrot?
A carrot is eaten raw. Hold on. Slow. Let's start from the beginning. Carrots can be eaten raw. And therefore, if anybody's going to cook them, it doesn't make a difference. The cooking doesn't add anything or doesn't subtract anything. Very good example. What else could be eaten raw?
Apples.
Apples, tomatoes, anything that could be eaten raw the way it is. The fact that it's not, in other words, let's say applesauce. Apples could be eaten raw, and somebody cuts up apples and makes applesauce. It's not a question. Okay? So something that could be eaten raw originally, and I didn't do, whatever I changed in the form, didn't change it. It was edible before, and it's now edible again. Nothing happened. It did not make it edible. It's not a question who cooked it. Okay? So I can go pick up an apple somewhere, applesauce, it's not a problem. I just have to make sure that the pot isn't trade if I'm walking into an restaurant. Where did they wash it? Things like that come up. But the question, the apple itself being cooked is not a problem. Applesauce is not a problem. Unless they put something else in it. You understand? But if there's no question of the ingredients or anything like that, the fact that it's cooked is not a problem. Okay? So anything that could be eaten raw. What else could be eaten raw? So in other words, most fruits and vegetables, what?
I was going to say something else. Smoked salmon is okay.
Smoked, well, that's another question. That's called smoked. The smoked, pickled, salted are another category. Okay. Okay. So everyone understood that something that is not going to change. It's kosher it's cooked originally. It's edible the way it is. It didn't change it.
What about the fish?
Fish.
Depending on the country.
What kind? Okay, I guess so. In America or in Israel, I don't think you eat fish raw. I mean, today actually, because of sushi, I guess you do. I don't know. You'll ask
Depending
about,
on the country.
I don't know. Okay, you have a very good question. I don't know. I think Rabbi Weinfeld is coming Tuesday night. Tomorrow night, he's from the OK Hachsherim. He's going to be talking tomorrow night about bugs. We cannot really learn Torah tomorrow night, so we're picking things that it's easy, whatever. So he's going to be doing that part of it, but you can ask him questions like that. Yes.
Another question.
Yes.
Okay. We said example of the apple, carrots, but what about the vegetables that can
Cannot
have
eat raw.
bugs?
You're going to be learning all about bugs.
Yeah, because you need to. Yeah,
Because okay,
If
it
it has
has
bugs,
to be
it's-
cooked, but someone have to.
It has nothing to do with cooking.
Well, it
if
does
it
in a
has
way-
a bug, you cannot eat it.
Because the
There are 7
non-Jew,
sins
But
in eating a bug.
But the mashgiach is required for that.
Yes,
right,
he's
you can't trust a
required
non-Jew to check for
yes,
bugs.
Right, that's another story.
Yeah, you
Right.
can't trust a non-Jew.
Right, I just said now, there's such a thing as kosher ingredients, such a thing as kosher vessels, and where you're washing it, etc. Another thing which has to do with bugs, and another thing that has to do with cooking. Okay, so they're all 4 different categories.
All right.
That's why I said it's not only ingredients, that's the name of the class, right? It's not only the ingredients. Okay, so now let's continue on. So you're now eating eating food. The food, I need to cook it. Which food do I have to make sure are cooked properly by a Jew or Shomer Shabbos? So number 1, any food that is raw, I can eat raw, it's not a problem. Eggs, according to halacha, are not considered a food that you eat raw. I grew up on raw eggs. My mother gave us a banana,
See?
orange juice, a raw egg, and milk. Before we went to school, I swallowed down 4 things and ran out of the door. That was my breakfast. Okay?
See
Fine.
how everybody in this whole room thinks that's
I
terrible.
know, they think it's crazy, I understand it. But that's the way my mother was brought up in Israel, where it came from Israel, I don't know, but that's what it was. And that's what we ate. I had to drink up a raw egg every morning. I never made my kids do it. But the bottom line
You say
is,
you didn't make your kids do it?
no, I did not.
Okay.
I did not. In any case, but the bottom line is, but it was healthy. It was a question they really believed the eggs were extremely healthy, and there was no problem with
of course
cholesterol
they
in those days, whatever, and raw was fine. But I'll be halacha, an egg needs a Jew to cook it. So in other words, now I'm going back, and maybe it was too complicated question, but she has to make herself an egg, or make the kid an egg, or make a kid cereal. What happens? Got it? Okay, but I'm gonna go there in a minute. Let me finish first the first four again. The first few categories. Category number one: anything that could be eaten raw is not a problem to have it cooked. You didn't change it. You didn't make it now edible. It's edible originally. Yes.
But it has to be in a pot that's kosher. It can't be anywhere. You're talking about just
Of
in
course.
your own home. Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about in my own home.
Right.
I have to have kosher vessels.
Yeah, everything else.
And I have to make sure that fleshik, milchik, whatever they are, parif or whatever they are. Okay, that's number one. Then I have to cook them in a kosher. I have to wash them in a kosher sink or hold them in my hand, and have a kosher and have a towel that is milchik for milchik, and have a washcloth.
So you have to do all of this. The
All of
non-Jewish
this,
person
yes. And we're going to have a
also
tour of a
sha'am.
kosher kitchen and explain that. Okay. Right, and I think the order that we're going in today is a little bit wrong, but I mean, I'm sorry. Okay, but you got it? Yes,
I
yes,
just want
yes.
to make sure.
Yes, all this has to be in place, right? I definitely have to have a kosher kitchen where I'm cooking, all right? And the lesson you're gonna have tomorrow morning is, what if I'm not in a kosher kitchen? What do I do then? That's what you're gonna be having with Rabbi Barber tomorrow. But the question is, we're gonna be setting up kosher kitchens for ourselves, which means I have to have a fleshik sink, a milchik sink, and then keep them completely separate. Fleshik dishes, milchik dishes. Fleshik towels, milchik towels. Fleshik washcloths, milchik washcloths. Everything
The
separate.
sponge, the
But a
scrubber.
lot of
Sponge,
people
everything.
don't-
What?
A lot of people in kosher kitchens don't have the separate sinks. They only have one sink.
And how do they do?
Different ones.
I did it. I
They
can
don't-
tell you.
They don't put anything directly in the sink.
Exactly.
They have a milk bowl or a kosher
They
bowl.
only use, first of all, warm water, not hot water, because hot water is problematic. It makes it cooks it, or it makes it go into the. If you cook with hot water, basically you're making it go into the pot, the walls of the pot. Okay, so you're not going to do that.
I'm talking a sink though, not the pot.
I know that.
Right,
but
so you don't put
I
that
have
in
a
the sink.
pot now. I have a pot that is fleshik. I just
Right.
cooked some meat.
Mhm.
Okay, now I want to wash it. So I only have one sink, which is what we call a tray sink.
Mhm.
One sink means a tray sink. That one sink is treif, which means I cannot put it into the sink. I will buy something like a plastic insert or something, and I put it in that there. So I put all my dishes in that bowl, okay? And I do not use hot water. I use only warm water, okay? Now that I'm using only warm water, it's not going into the walls of the plastic or walls of the pot or walls of anything. So I'm not transferring any fleshik into a milchik. You got me or not? In other words, it transfers, it makes it fleshik if it's hot water. If I cooked with it, the pot became now hot. A hot pot on the fire now made that pot became now fleshik. I went to the store and I bought a pot. I titled it, which is another thing now. So it's now a kosher pot. That pot now I cooked meat in hot. So it's now a fleshik pot. That fleshik pot now, if I'm going to cook with hot water in a plastic insert, that plastic insert is going to become fleshik as well. Okay? Okay? And which is fine. But if it's too hot, it's going to go further than that. And it's going to pick up everything. So I have to have now, I buy myself two inserts. I buy myself two bowls. One fleshik and one milchik. So when I eat fleshik, after a fleshik meal, I put everything into that. You'll see downstairs now she does it for other reasons, because she puts food in the sink. She doesn't want also dishes there. But she bought a plastic thing. We put all our dishes there, the milchik dishes. I think it's a blue one, which is milchik. And then she washes in the sink. You understand? So you're allowed to do that. So you can have two separate ones. And then you can have also where you put the dishes also on something that's a milchik towel or a milchik flat thing that you put the dishes on. Okay. So basically, and now I have and the shmata, the
Dish towel.
not the dish
Dish
towel.
rag.
Shmata is the
Dish
rag
rag.
that I'm using, or the piece of Brillo, whatever it is one only for milchik, and I clean. I wash my dishes. You understand? Just make sure it's warm water, like I say. Okay? And then I will take a towel that is milchik, and I'm going to, I don't know what do I offer, milchik or fleshik, whatever it is, that fleshik thing.
The
I have
correct
now
category.
fleshik. So I have now a towel, and that towel I'm going to wash it with and put it away. Understood? And I keep them separate completely. And I have a special tablecloth for fleshik and another one for milchik. And I have, like I say, towels for milchik and towels for fleshik. And I have, washcloths for milchik and washcloth, and they're all kept separate.
Towels also?
Towels also. I don't want to use a fleshik towel that I just washed fleshik with, wiped fleshik with, and now wipe milchik dishes. We don't do that. We don't want to transfer from one to another.
And
It's like germs. Yes.
the dishes and all the cutlery and everything have to be warm also.
I wash it with warm water.
Before I put it in the bowl.
No, that doesn't matter. Just that it has to be in the bowl, and don't use hot water, so it shouldn't transfer anywhere else.
Unless you
Right.
hold it in your hand.
Yeah, another thing to do is I'm just very lazy and I have only 2 dishes. I'm gonna hold it under the sink and I'm gonna wash it under that, and then I'm gonna wipe it and put it away. I don't put it down anywhere. I wipe it once it's clean. I put it away. Understand what I'm saying, right?
Without wanting to confuse anything, but if you were lucky to have a dishwasher,
You have to have 2.
Because otherwise
You don't
it's
have the
meat.
same
yeah, you
dishwasher.
can't, yeah,
Or
okay.
you could just use it for meating.
You can only buy one for meat. You can use one for meat. Milk,
Yeah,
it's up to you, but you can have one, yes. But you cannot mix milk and meat in one dishwasher. Some people think the water is hot enough that between one and another I'm going to do, it's questionable. Okay?
Is there any-
They think it's koshering every time.
Yeah, it's not
So-
kosher.
when you say that, you wash the plates with warm water, is there an occasion where you actually wash it with hot water? Is that,
Yeah, but I can do it under the sink. I have a
Okay.
tray for sink, and I open up hot water, and I wash it, and I hold it in my hand, and then I wipe it. That's okay. I can use hot water. I just don't want to use hot water if it's in a bowl, because I'm making the bowl problematic.
go ahead.
Because from the dishes that are hot with the hot water, it's going to go onto the bowl. The bowl itself is going to become treif. Because now it's in a sink that's treif, so it's going to transfer from the sink that's treif into the bowl. Got it? Okay. So that's that. So now we said, so going back to the cooking now. Yes, I'm going back to the cooking. So so an egg, therefore, now, which cannot be eaten raw, if it's cooked now, it's cooked by whoever it's cooked by. So is it cooked by a Jew or a non-Jew or whatever it may be? Is it a person that Shomer Shabbos opening the fire? Okay. So let's say I came home now, and I found that my maid or whatever it is made herself an egg in my pot. It's a kosher egg. The pot is kosher. It was milchik, no problem. But she wanted cooked in a pot, and she opened the fire. So if I have a pilot light, years ago we all had pilot lights. You know, pilot lights is you put on a little fire, and it's there all the time. So when you open up a fire, you're opening a fire from another fire. And I opened up originally that pilot light. Me, my husband, somebody in the house opened the pot. A Jew opened it up. Okay, so that's
So you
not
have to make sure you opened it up and not
Hold
the
on.
serviceman who installed your stove.
Okay, but I don't have servicemen putting on fires. I get you.
No, but I mean, when you first bought the
Right.
stove,
So you have to make sure you opened up that first fire, and after that, if she opens up the fire, it's not such a big deal. Okay? But what happens if you have an electric oven? Or you have today's kind where there's no pilot light, it's an electric ignition,
Sparker
and
thing, yeah.
it's a spark. So then it's a big question. The question is on the egg. The egg is not a problem because she ate it. That's not a problem. The problem is the fork. The problem is the plate. The problem is the frying pan. Okay, and I'm not telling you what to do. It's a question for Rav. We just try to avoid ever having that kind of case. Another thing is she decided to cook my child farina. She made my child cereal. She's babysitting my baby. And my baby wants cereal, and she made my baby not ready cereal. We just take some kind of flakes and put it into hot milk. Because if she cooks hot milk, it's not a problem. Why is it a problem? Why could she warm hot milk?
Because we can get milk.
We could drink milk the way it is. So if she warms the milk, it doesn't make a difference. If she warms the water, it doesn't make a difference. Okay? But what happens if she put farina or oatmeal, which is not cooked before, pre-cooked? It's a question. Again, it's a problem with the cereal, with the pot, and with the plate. I'm sorry that I'm complicating things.
but the baby already ate it, and now you're really,
Okay. Okay. So that's why, in a way, it's better to have old-fashioned ovens than have a pilot light. So if you think you have a cheap oven, you have a better oven in a way, a more kosher oven. Okay, that's why also we like to have sinks, if you can, if you're gonna make yourself a kitchen that's stainless steel that could be kosher if there's a question. While if you have a
Porcelain.
a porcelain, ceramic, whatever it is, it's problematic. I mean, it's harder to kosher, that's all. It's not impossible. Some of them, again, this is not for me. This is a rabbi that's going to talk about koshering. Okay, everyone got that. Now, let's talk about other foods. Then there are foods we said that don't go on a king's table. In other words, they're not really important foods, like corn. Corn is considered, I'm talking about, I guess, maize, more than that's eaten by animals, not by people.
Animal food.
Animal food. So it's not considered, so therefore, if you have corn something, you know, what are they, cornflakes is not a question, for instance. Corn on the cob, I don't think so. I don't know if it's the same kind of thing, but definitely cornflakes, I know that is not a problem. In other words, if it's Kellogg's is the one that cooked it, it's not the same thing as if you're eating Rice Krispies.
What do you mean if Kellogg's cooked it? It's not the same as it
You went out and bought, Kellogg's is an American firm, not an English one, but you have Kellogg's cornflakes. You have something that's cornflakes, any company. If it is cooked by a non-kosher company, there's not a question of bishul, because it's corn.
Yeah, because that's why.
Okay?
There's some countries in the world where people won't even eat corn at all. They say, no, that's animal food.
Okay.
You don't eat any corn products.
I'm an
whatsoever.
American and I eat corn.
Because most cereals are fine. It's not just corn.
I don't know. Again, I'm not here to paskin. I'm just to tell you what the general rules are, okay? So in other words, something is not considered something you put on a king's table, or, so king's table or eat raw. That's that. Then the next thing is now something that is salted, like herring. You said fish. Fish that is, in other words, that is salted herring already. The process that made it edible was salting. Herring is okay.
It's okay on which category?
Cooking.
So,
In other words, it's okay.
so it's not a king's table item.
Not because of king's egg table,
Oh.
because of another reason. Because it's not cooked, it's not considered bishul.
Oh, okay. So the non-Jew could prepare
It
it.
became edible by the fact that it was salted.
So a non-Jew could salt it.
Exactly. And the same thing with pickling. Pickles. Well, pickles anyway, cucumbers are not a question. But pickling, I guess, herring or pickling some other kind of food. Okay? And then there's a whole question, different things, talk about what about if something is steamed? It's not cooked, but it's steamed. So it's not the same process. To some point you find that certain things are steamed, therefore that made it
Tuna.
okay. What?
Yeah, there's things like tuna, but that's problematic.
But tuna is really problematic. Tuna is very hard to know if it's kosher or not. You really have to have a good mashgiach on tuna because it looks very much, I don't know exactly what the questions are. That's Rabbi Weinfeld tonight or Rabbi Barber will explain to you. But tuna has a lot of different questions because I think there's a lot of different kinds of it. They're not sure which are kosher and which are not kosher. I don't know exactly what it
The
is.
other fish, he said, that come in it.
Whatever. Okay, just very quickly because it's getting late. Milk is problematic. Milk, it has to be watched by a Jew. That's what's called, you must have heard about Chalav Yisrael. Chabad and all Hasidim are extremely careful of Chalav Yisrael. It's the milk officially is kosher. If it's, in other words, the rule around the world, I think, I don't know all countries, but in most countries, right, is that milk has to come from a kosher animal. It cannot come from a pig or from a horse. Okay? What happens if all of a sudden there's just not enough milk? They have to produce so much and so many gallons of milk, and they don't have enough. Tell you a story. There was a shliach who used to go all the time. He did not want to buy regular milk. He only wanted Chalav Yisrael milk. And therefore, he used to go once a week. He used to travel 2 or 3 hours, whatever it was, to a local farm to get some milk. So he was there at the time of the milking, and the milking lecture was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And at the time of the milking, he was there. He watched the milking. It was kosher milking.
And he brought his own container.
And he brought his own container, of course, yes. Okay, so he's there now with his own clean container, and they're milking into his container, and everything's fine, and it's all kosher, okay? I don't know if he had to bring his own container, because probably all the time they only had cow's milk there, whatever. In any case, one time he comes a little late. and he missed the milking, which is exactly, let's say, from 4 to 4:10.
You have to watch all the process.
You have to watch the process. You have to be
All from
there. It doesn't take a long time to milk a cow.
You
But
don't have
today
to
it's
see it.
different. Today it's done. I was by a J&J farm, I think it was. I looked from upstairs. They basically had a carousel. You know what a carousel is? You know when you go on the horses? So what they do is they have a whole bunch of stalls. It's made like this. And stall. Let's say there's 50 stalls. Cow goes in, hooked on. Next cow goes in, hooked on, goes all around. By that time it's finished being milked, walks out. So it's in and out.
Rabbi Barber told us that it's not that they have to watch the whole process just to know whether animals could have gone in or there's nothing else that
Yeah, that's the main thing.
Yeah.
So somebody's watching you. Hold on. So let's see, 1 second. So I'm watching the thing, and cows go in and cows go out all the way around. So that's what it is. So basically, years ago, you had to have somebody sitting there, whether they fell asleep in the middle of the night, I don't know, but they had to be there at 4 in the morning and 4 at night. That's what they usually milk. 4 in the afternoon, 4 at night, for whatever it takes, an hour, half an hour, they did it. Later on, they started doing it by a person could watch it on his phone. But so I don't know what's going on in the world today, but obviously today they might be watching it another way, and maybe halachically it's allowed. But the person that's there knows that he's being watched. There are cameras all around. Okay, so I'm telling you now a story that happened with a shliach. He came now to a small little farm and to go get his milk, and it's done a lot by shluchim. In any case, he came late, and he's very upset because he came late. Means that he missed the milking. And now, what's he going to do? The next milking is 4 in the morning. Now it's 4 in the afternoon. They can take 2-3 hours to get home. It's not a simple thing. In any case, and he's going back and forth, and he's thinking of just leaving and going without milk. Of course, the kids need the milk, etc. In any case, and he's thinking in his head, maybe I should, and he's like sure. He's been doing this for years, and he's sure that the milk is 100%. They have nothing but cows in this place. Why would he be afraid? And he's like really tempted to just buy the milk and go home. And as he's ready to do that, all of a sudden, his child, he came with a few children, and one of them disappeared. And he's looking for the child, and the farmer says to him, "You're looking for your child? Well, he's over there, down there in the pig stall." He says, "What?" He says, "Next door there is another farm of pigs. As a matter of fact, the milk today is from there. I didn't have enough cow's milk." He was almost going to get that milk. Just to teach us how you never know.
But it's also
Cannot
because
trust.
certainly the Chachamim, it's just the fact alone that the Chachamim instituted it. So
That's enough as a chachamim. But on the other hand, in America today, I don't know about the rest of the world, I don't know, but I know in America today there's a heter to buy cholavaka milk that's not cholav Yisrael, because there's a rule in the government that you can only use kosher milk.
Cow's milk.
Cow's milk. I want to just say something that maybe some of you understand this. When you go into a train station, okay, I was a tempted young mother who used to take my kids by train. Under 5 years old, you can go in for free. You just slip underneath. Over 5 years old, you have to pay. There are many mothers that are tempted. You look like you're 4. Don't bother to say you're 5. Just slip under. Right or wrong? That's all. So in other words, people break rules. The same thing with tax rules. It's easy to pack people. How many people break tax rules? So let's be honest about it. There's a lot of dishonesty going on in the world. You cannot trust your milk. There's got to be, that's why they tell you there has to be somebody watching it. Okay? And I think the story really shows it. Another thing is, in the Chassidus we know, there was a story about a person many years ago that he was not a chassid, and he married, his father-in-law was a chassidic yid, and he himself was not, in any case, but he was a big Talmud Chacham, etc., and his father-in-law went to the Rebbe, says, "Do you want to go to the Rebbe?" He says, "No, I don't believe in Rebbe," etc., etc. In any case, bottom line is, I don't remember exactly what happened, but he finally went with his father to the Rebbe. The Rebbe is a big tzaddik. And the Rebbe calls him in and says to him, I'm sorry, I know what happened. What happened was the man started having questions, doubting in Hashem. He's this big rabbi with a lot of knowledge, sat alert day and night, and started having questions in Emunah, in faith. And of course he was very upset. and he didn't know what to do with himself. In any case, his father-in-law told him, come to the Rebbe. In any case, convinced him, he came to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe says to him, you ate chalavakim. Chalavakim causes all kinds of doubts in your emunah, in your faith. And he started looking back and seeing what happened. Whatever it is, he went a place, he didn't realize it was a mistake, it wasn't on purpose, but bottom line is that he had drank a chalavakim. So we're very, very careful that this should not happen. You understand? And I know that there are mothers that left the child with a mother-in-law or a mother who wasn't from, okay? And they didn't mean it on purpose, but they bought the child some ice cream. They thought Haagen-Dazs ice cream, whatever, was okay. Or they bought the child something they thought was okay, but really was chalavakum. And they came to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe says, give tzedakah, etc. What do you do? You know, question is, what do I do because of this? Okay, so that's just very quickly about milk. We're extremely careful. We do not want any questions in our doubt. That could be one of the worst things. That's milk. That's a little bit about milk, a little bit about cook, about thing, and about wine. Also, we're very careful. Hasidim are more careful. The world is careful that it should be that a non-Jew should not touch it, and we're careful that it should not be even seen by somebody's not so Shabbos. That's why if you go to somebody's home, please do not be insulted. But if you don't keep Shabbos yet, they're gonna, they're not gonna, you don't touch the wine. Just remember, don't touch it until you start keeping Shabbos. And if you're not Jewish yet, don't look at it or whatever it is. Or they'll put it, that's why we have wine that's cooked, wine mivusha. It's pre-cooked. If it's pre-cooked, it's not on the same level, so it's not a problem. If it's not pre-cooked, it's a problem. Okay? Wine.
That's why they.
That's why, right. In my house, we do not use pre-cooked wine. Everything is in something. Right. It's not muvashal, and therefore it's always in a bag. I have a room in the basement that all the wine is there, locked, always, right? Okay, you got it.
Can a goy cannot touch a non-mevashal wine if it's in a bag like
I guess so. If it's not mevushal in a bag, no. I don't think so. I don't know. Ask one of the rabbis. I don't know.
So you've got it there so that no one can touch it, none of your workers, so it's hidden.
It's originally, we take it out when we eat for the meal, and it's in a bag, and then whatever.
But at the store, maybe a non-Jew is moving the crates of
before
wine.
So
it was
we are
open,
very
it's okay,
careful to
but
only buy from a closed box.
Comes in a
Okay,
I
so they
went
can
to
move a
Florida, I
box.
went to different places, I need wine, one we take with us. My husband just paid $35 for his wine to go in the suitcase, right? So because they don't let you take anything that's liquid onto the plane. So you take it onto the plane, and guess what? He found that they opened it up.
They opened the suitcase?
They opened the suitcase, exactly. They're wondering what it was, they opened the suitcase, and we had no wine. But what we do is we go into a store with kosher wine even, and we only buy a box that's
So
closed,
non-Jews can
and
handle
he
the box.
opens up we try to open it up ourselves.
But
But in other words, if you're going to a store and there's not mevushal wine standing there, and it's right open display and anybody can see it, it's not a good idea. You understand that?
But if it's mevushal wine and the bottle is intact, it's not been opened, that's not a problem.
If it's mevushal wine, yes. Yes. That's why the world uses mevushal wine today. You always check if it's mevushal. It's just that it's not as chashuv for Shabbos as something that is. So my husband wants it to be not mevushal. You understand what I'm trying to say? Because it's more,
Kabbalistic about it or something.
more chashuv means it's more, what's the word? Chashuv is
Honorable.
It's more important. But it's 100% okay to have a bushel wine, and that's the way it's done. Okay?
So the boxes, so the moving a box, a closed box of wine, moving it by the
As
non-Jews.
long as it's completely closed and nobody touched
Okay,
it.
so there's
or
not a
anything
thing
like
of the
that, or
moving of
saw
it.
no.
Okay.
Then the question is, by the way, a lot of the wine bottles today are dark. You can't see the wine through them. Does that help? I think yes, but again, I'm not rough.
When you serve in the group of Yiddish or the non-Jewish is
There
in
by the table.
you finally
They
will
can see it, so that's why we go like this in front of it. Okay, it's problematic. And you don't want to embarrass everybody, so that's why we want everybody to know the halacha, and as soon as you're completely Jewish, it's not a problem anymore, but until then, be considerate of the fact that, you'll keep the halachas also, right? You don't open up the fire and you don't look at the wine. That's it, right? And then you'll appreciate when you finish the mikvah process, right? Okay, very good. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.